My dear people of Ambazonia, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement, my dear people of the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons, I like to say happy Sunday to all and sundry where it is still Sunday. And I want to extend hearty regards to all our people, both on ground zero, on ground one, in the diaspora, and our prisoners of war in the various dungeons of La République du Cameroon and in jails across the world, for all your resiliency and for your determination and focus on ensuring the liberation of our homeland. My dear people of Ambazonia, you definitely notice that this Sunday I'm not speaking at my location, that's why I'm not in our studio, and so we will make do. The quality of this video may really not be the best, but I'm supposing that at least you can hear me. And the most important thing is the message that I want to pass across today. The most important thing is the information that I want us to share today. My dear people of Ambazonia, you are noticing that this is a very critical moment, really a turning point in our liberation movement. You notice, my people of Ambazonia, that here and there, the enemy is getting bolder. The enemy is beginning to feel that they can frighten us, that they can throw any kind of thing at us, that they can intimidate us into silence. Something they've not been able to do since 2017. Today, more than ever before, they are convincing themselves that the happenings on the international scene are propitious for them to try and silence us all over the world, not only within the Republic of Cameroon anymore. My people of Ambazonia, I've received a lot of calls from a lot of you with good intentions, asking me, Mr. Akuro, you know, things are getting very difficult and so complicated, and so it's like we all have to be very careful. And I answered and said, we ought to be careful right from day one. And we have been careful right from day one. And we have always been very careful. Recklessness had never been part of this liberation movement. It is true that sometimes out of emotions and sometimes also out of outright frustration and anger at what was going on, at the level of pain that our people were facing, of course, some people went overboard. But my people of Ambazonia, that is also speech. I want to say this to all and sundry, that in every liberation movement around the world, there always comes a time where it seems as if we are at a dead end. In every liberation movement across the world, there always comes a time where it seems as if everything is like against us. But my people, I want to let each and every one of us know that this has always been part of the plan. I want each and every one of us to bear in mind that this kind of moments have always arrived in every liberation movement. And it is usually after this kind of moments that the people who have been fighting, who have been suffering, who have been battling, who have been persevering, who have been undergoing pain, who have been visited by a genocide, eventually prevail. It is during times like this that the people finally prevail. It is during a time like this where where the enemy is getting so convinced and so bold and beginning to think so seriously that the time for the people's will to bend has come. It is during this moment that the people finally overcome. There has never been any panacea to people power all over the world. Whenever a people have risen in unison to reclaim that which is theirs, to reclaim their freedom, to reclaim their ability to determine their own development priorities, to reclaim their ability to decide, oh God, to decide, oh my people, that it is this one that I want to do this time and not that other one. To decide that we have to prepare a level ground where everyone will have the opportunity to thrive, to decide that we want to break the evil yokes of underdevelopment, to decide that we want to break the evil yoke of unacceptable entanglement, of total dehumanization. It is usually at this time that the people prevail. It is never always a bed of roses. Never ever, anywhere in the world, in any liberation movement, you can comb liberation history. Has it ever been a walk through the park? The enemy generally lurks. The enemy at times comes as if they have been defeated. The enemy at times comes as if they are beginning to give up. But they are permanently on the watch, looking for the least opportunity to break through in the ranks. And don't forget, they always do with those that they have planted in the midst of the oppressed people. Because the greatest enemy of the oppressed people are people among them. If you do not get me well, let me use a megaphone. The greatest enemy of an oppressed people are usually some of the people among them. Which means, therefore, that, like there's an African proverb that says, if the house does not give, the outside will not receive. When I read African communication, and I saw that in cosmic operations, what they do, if there is no one in the house or in the family of an individual that is to be bewitched, that will be used, it will be difficult for that individual to be bewitched. Witches and wizards usually don't come from outside. They must have a connecting point, a connecting power. They must have some link within the house in order to successfully carry out their witchcraft operations on anyone. It is the same with liberation movements. You must have people within who are ready to sell their people for 30 pieces of silver. For 30 pieces of silver, you must have such people. And if those people are not there, the enemy will not have their way. But usually, you should recall that the existence of those kinds of people is always part of the plan. So therefore, my people of Ambazonia, this is not a time to lie on our laurels. This is not a time to begin to cry all over the place. This is not a time to run under your beds. This is not a time to say, I cannot talk again. I shall not assist again. I shall not hear anything again. I shall not want anyone to call me again. I will not participate in resisting again. Don't forget, this liberation movement, when it was ignited, at least this phase of it, in late 2016 and early 2017, it was the civil society that led the charge. Because this liberation movement has been christened from day one a people's collective fight for freedom. It is not the affair of a little bunch. It is not the affair of a few individuals here and there. It is a people's collective fight for freedom. My dear people of Ambazonia, take a look at ground zero. You will see that despite the serious infiltration by La République du Cameroun in our ranks at all levels, the people of the Southern Cameroons have continued to stand strong. In one of my latest broadcasts, I said this, that La République du Cameroun, overwhelmed with the situation and aware of the heavy and serious challenges they have ahead of them in 2025, are making haste to use the game of numbers, to use the visual to give our people the impression that this liberation movement has failed. I say, and I repeat again, that La République du Cameroon, they are aware of the daunting challenges before them in 2025. They are aware of the impending implosion of their country. They are aware that La République du Cameroon itself is now in a powder magazine and that the least spark and anything can happen. For that reason, they have to make haste. They have to make haste to kill the momentum of our fight for freedom in Ambazonia, so that when they descend into total chaos, we will be unable to reorganize. We will be unable to take advantage. We will be unable to cut loose. And then they will have the opportunity with Paris and their friends on the international scene to eventually resolve their challenges, to eventually resolve their differences, and then come back and meet us at the same spot and pick up from where they ended to continue dehumanizing, to continue transforming us into outright slaves, and to ensure that we live perpetually in slavery and servitude. I take this moment to tell my people and to remind each and every one, if you have forgotten, that the darkest hour of the night is the hour just before dawn. The darkest hour of the night is the hour just before dawn. This is the time more than ever before that the men in the Southern Cameroons should show up. They are trying our patience. They are daring us. They are poking their fingers into our eyes. And they are telling us, talk. My dear people of Ambazonia, go back to the courageous talk of Honorable Wiba Joseph, right in the parliament, in the House of Assembly of La République du Cameroon. Pick up the steam if you have lost from there and get ready to continue to stand strong and firm for this liberation movement. If you are an overcomer, you will understand that overcomers don't bow down to situation. They rise to the occasion and challenge them. The time now is not to bow. The time now is not to surrender. The time now is not to tell the enemy that, oh yeah, we are afraid because it would appear that you are about to defeat us. We are not to be defeated. When the people remain strong in their will and resilient and determined, as we see on ground zero, all they need are leaders who continue to borrow ahead, who continue to borrow forward, who continue to close their eyes to anything that comes as challenges. At the start of this liberation movement, a lot of us came online and swore that we are ready to lay down our lives to secure the freedom of our land. If you thought it was mere rhetoric, this is the time where everyone is being tested. If you thought it was empty talk, the time to walk that talk is now. If you thought that you were just joking, you are definitely finding out that there is no point in ever thinking that you would joke with a thing as serious as this. Even some who had decided to go mute, to go silent, who had decided to withdraw, you see, they will come right inside your closets and fish you out from there. They will come right into your bedrooms and tell you you can no longer be silent. You either surrender outright and be presented as a trophy to Yaounde, or we will come after you. This is what it is, my dear people of Ambazonia. I am of the civil society, and I will continue to say it by day and by night, that the resiliency of the civil society is the engine on which this liberation movement is thriving. You find that right up to this day, anytime you hear there are parachutes cry anywhere, They talked about that ghost towns. They talk about they are forcing ghost towns on the people. Don't ever forget this, to remind them that when the ghost towns came into being, there were no armed freedom fighters in Ambazonia. Don't ever forget to tell them this. Whenever they make such callous statements that a ghost town is being forced on the people, remind them that when the first ghost town was announced and executed on the 9th of January 2017, there were no freedom fighters carrying arms. That throughout the year 2017, right up to November, when Mr. Paul Biya at the airport in Simaland in Yaounde declared war against the people of the Southern Cameroons, the ghost towns had been in operation. And there was no freedom fighter with a gun, not one, on the territory of the Southern Cameroons. The people run this liberation movement. The people willingly shut down their businesses every Monday because that was an agreement that was entered into with the consortium. I say this because I was part of it. I say this because I was part of the discussions. When it was in March, April 2017, that the people finally came to an agreement and said, we will institute ghost towns on Monday and Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday. Just so that La République du Cameroon and their partners across the world will know that the civilian population of the Southern Cameroons are all out for a free, independent, democratic, and prosperous Southern Cameroons. And eventually, we came to the conclusion that we should now make it one day. I also hear them say that a school boycott is being forced on the people. No, the school boycott was a voluntary act by the parents. It's true that at a certain point, when there was an evolution, there were some schools of thought that felt that we should not evolve, that we should remain at the spot. When there was an evolution, some people felt, no, maybe this is not the best way to go. But La République du Cameroun, determined to tarnish the image of our liberation movement, decided to send people, even soldiers of La République du Cameroun, were caught on camera burning down our schools, just so that they should cause the world to see, to create a parallel between the people of the Southern Cameroons simply seeking freedom and an evil sect known as Boko Haram. They have never ceased trying to create that parallel. They have never ceased trying to deceive the world that that is who we are. Don't forget always that the people of the Southern Cameroons at the outset were fighting to protect our education system. This fight was mainly initially also to protect our educational system and to protect our legal system. So therefore, these callous talks that turn around trying to create a parallel between us and an evil sect that simply says Western education is evil, they don't have a place. My people of Ambazonia, this is the time more than ever before that we have to show strength by remaining resilient. This is a time more than ever before that we will distinguish between boys and men in this liberation movement. This is a time more than ever before that I will say, if you are a man, this is a time for you to arise and be counted. We must remain firm. We must remain resilient. We must remain focused on the objective, and we must remain determined to score this victory. our prisoners of war, our prisoners of conscience, our people who have been taken captive by La République du Cameroun, here and there, count on our ability to fight this all the way to the end. Fighters like Pa Molan Jo Litumbe. And I don't call him a fighter because he ever carried a weapon. Because he continued to do what I am doing. Because he continued to educate the people and to stand firm and to remind the people of our inherent and inalienable right to self-determination. People like Molan Jo Litumbe. People like the late Justice Ebongalame. People like the late Ayamba Ete Oton. People like the late Abba Mukong. My dear people, all those that started this fight long before us. People like the late Professor Nsokika Bernard Mfonlong, who at his time still thought that federalism could be the way to go. If he were alive today, he would definitely think otherwise. All those who have gone before us, people like Mami Api, who paid the price, the ultimate price. People like Sam Sawyer, who paid the ultimate price, not because he was ever carrying even a stone or a sling to threaten anyone. People like Bebe Carol Louise, people like Bebe Tato Brandy. My dear people of Ambazonia, all these people are looking up to us. They are counting on us to bequeath to future generations of Southern Cameroonians, aka Ambazonians, a free country. We shall not fail in this mission. Don't forget that we always end our press releases, our communications at the consortium by saying God is with us. Because this liberation movement is ordained by God. And there are lots of people in this movement who were called by God to be involved in this liberation movement. God doesn't start a thing that he doesn't finish. I say God does not start a thing that he doesn't finish. We may have some few people along the lines that got into this liberation movement without a clear understanding what it is, who committed one error or the other, or who continue to commit some errors. They cannot be what defines the philosophy of this liberation movement. You will recall that the people of the Southern Cameroons have always been a peace-loving people and who have always opted for the peaceful approach. That is why even the Southern Cameroons National Council, the SCNC, that preceded the consortium, has as motto the force of argument and not the argument of force. I say it has as motto the force of argument and not the argument of force. To say that, my people of Ambazonia, we were forced to be defending ourselves. We never ever at any moment said now is the time to take the option of the argument of force and not the force of argument. So therefore, no one should be discouraged. So therefore, no one should ever contemplate giving up. Giving up is not an option. In this liberation movement, it is the hard way, and that hard way is the only way. Forward always, backward never. Aluta continua. To God be the glory. Thank you for your kind attention.